The Australian outback does not announce its dangers. It simply waits for you to stop paying attention, and then it collects. Out here, the landscape looks generous at first, wide, open, the kind of place where you feel like you can see everything coming. Red dirt stretching to the horizon, eucalyptus bark peeling off ghost white trunks, the occasional skitter of something small disappearing under leaf litter. It feels manageable. That is, of course, the point. The death adder is not like the snakes you were warned about. It does not rear up. It does not rattle or hiss or perform any of the theatrical warnings that nature usually provides to keep the food chain honest. It is perhaps the most accomplished ambush predator on a continent specifically engineered to kill you. A flat, wide body built for invisibility, scales that mirror dead leaves with a precision that borders on contempt. A tail tip, it wiggles like bait while the rest of it remains absolutely, catastrophically still. It does not hunt you. It does not need to. It simply exists in the dirt, beneath the undergrowth, at the base of a log you are about to step over, and it waits with the patience of something that has been doing this successfully for 20 million years. You are not the apex predator here. You are just the next appointment. Oh, hey there. Today we are talking about the death adder. And before you assume you know what kind of video this is, let me stop you right there. This is not a greatest hits compilation of dramatic wildlife footage. This is not a reassuring nature documentary with a sweeping orchestral score. This is a clinical, methodical, uncomfortably detailed walkthrough of what happens inside your body after one of Australia's most perfectly designed predators decides you are standing in the wrong place. The death adder kills deceptively. That is the thing that separates it from almost everything else on this continent that wants you dead. It does not overwhelm you with speed. It does not give you a violent, cinematic send-off. It simply introduces a very small amount of a very sophisticated neurotoxin into your system, and then it watches, completely unbothered, as your nervous system quietly dismantles itself from the top down. By the time most people realize something is wrong, the venom has already been working for an hour. We are going to walk through every minute of it. Here is the first cruelty of the death adder. The bite does not hurt. Not really. Not in any way that registers as a threat. There is a small, sharp sensation, maybe a half second of mild sting, and then nothing. No burning, no immediate swelling, no visible fang marks unless you're looking very closely at a very specific patch of skin. Most people who have been bitten describe it identically. It felt like a thorn, like a splinter, like the tip of a dry branch catching the ankle as you step through undergrowth. So you keep walking, and while you keep walking, the venom is not. It is moving with quiet efficiency through the subcutaneous tissue, absorbed into your lymphatic system with every step you take. This is important. Physical movement accelerates the process. Your own body, doing the entirely reasonable thing of continuing a hike, is actively distributing the toxin further with each pump of your legs. The death adder's venom is a postsynaptic neurotoxin. In plain language, it is a chemical that travels to the junctions between your nerve endings and your muscles and begins blocking the signals that tell your body to move. It does not destroy. It does not burn. It simply interrupts, politely, systematically, one synapse at a time. The clock is running. You are blissfully unaware. Everything still feels completely fine. The first sign is so subtle that most people dismiss it entirely. Somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes after the bite, your eyelids begin to feel heavy. Not dramatically heavy. Not in a way that triggers an alarm. Just the familiar, creeping weight of tiredness, the kind you associate with a long day, too much sun, not enough water. You probably blame the heat. You probably blink a few extra times and keep walking. That is a very human response. It is also a catastrophic misread of what is actually happening. What you are experiencing is ptosis. The progressive drooping of the upper eyelid is caused by the neurotoxin blocking the nerve signals to the muscles that hold it open. It begins here, at the top, because the death adder's venom operates through descending paralysis. It works its way down through your nervous system methodically, with the unhurried efficiency of something that has no reason to rush. Your eyelids are the opening chapter. The venom is only on page 1. Along with the heaviness, some victims notice a slight difficulty focusing, a faint doubling of vision at the edges. The world does not go dark. It simply starts to feel like you are viewing it through something gauzy and thick, like a window beginning to fog. Your brain is still entirely sharp, entirely present, entirely aware. That awareness is about to become the most terrifying thing about this. Around the 2-hour mark, your face starts to betray you. It begins with the voice, a slight thickness to the words, like your tongue has gained weight overnight. You try to say something simple, and it comes out softened at the edges, the consonants losing their precision. You clear your throat. Try again. The slurring does not improve. This is not dryness or fatigue. This is the neurotoxin arriving at the muscles of your mouth, your jaw, your throat, and quietly withdrawing their operating permissions. Then comes the saliva. Your swallowing reflex, which you have never once in your life thought about, begins to fail. Saliva pools at the back of your throat because the muscles responsible for the automatic, unconscious act of swallowing are no longer responding reliably. You become aware of every swallow in a way that is deeply, viscerally wrong. Each one requires conscious effort. Each one feels like a negotiation. Your facial muscles are going offline in sequence. The muscles around the eyes, the cheeks, the lips, the jaw. If someone were watching you right now, they would see an expression that looks less like a face and more like a slow, drifting erasure of one. The features are all still there. The animation is leaving. Your brain, sharp and horrified and fully operational, is watching this happen from the inside with zero ability to stop it. By the 3rd hour, gravity has become your enemy. The venom has been making its methodical descent through your nervous system, and it has now arrived at the larger muscle groups. Your arms feel wrong first, not painful, crucially, just absent in a way that is difficult to describe until it happens to you. You reach for something, and the arm responds slowly, reluctantly, like a signal traveling through miles of degraded cable before it arrives. Then the legs. Standing becomes an act of concentration. Each step requires a conscious instruction sent from a brain that is still perfectly lucid to a body that is increasingly ignoring the memo. Victims describe it as wearing a suit made of wet concrete. The limbs are there, they are attached. They simply no longer belong to you in any meaningful functional sense. What the venom is doing mechanically is blocking acetylcholine at the neuromuscular junction. Acetylcholine is the neurotransmitter your body uses to tell muscles to contract. The Death Adder's toxin binds to the receptor sites and occupies them without activating them, a molecular lockout that leaves your muscles waiting for a signal that cannot get through. There is no pain because there is no damage. The machinery is intact. The communication line has simply been severed. You need to sit down. You need help. You need antivenom. What you probably do not yet have is either. This is the chapter nobody wants to reach. Somewhere between 4 and 5 hours, the remaining voluntary muscle control dissolves, not dramatically, not all at once, but steadily, irreversibly, until the process is complete and you are lying still, unable to move a single limb, unable to speak, unable to signal distress in any way that the outside world can detect. Your mind is untouched. That is the detail that makes the Death Adder categorically different from almost every other way a nervous system can fail. This is not unconsciousness. This is not delirium. The neurotoxin does not cross the blood-brain barrier. It has no interest in your thoughts, your awareness, your ability to process, understand, and feel terror. It leaves all of that completely intact while dismantling every physical tool you have for expressing any of it. You can hear voices if someone is nearby. You can feel the ground beneath you. You can think with complete clarity about the fact that you are paralyzed and that your breathing is becoming labored and that the window for intervention is narrowing by the minute. Neurologists have a clinical term for this state, locked-in syndrome. The body is a sealed room with a fully conscious occupant and no doors. You are not gone. You are simply trapped inside yourself, watching the clock, unable to tell anyone what you can still very clearly see. The diaphragm is a dome-shaped muscle sitting at the base of your lungs. You have never once had to think about it. Every breath you have ever taken, every exhale, every unconscious rhythm of respiration that has kept you alive through every hour of your existence has been managed by this muscle without a single conscious instruction from you. Until now. When the neurotoxin reaches the phrenic nerve, the signal that drives the diaphragm goes quiet. The muscle stops contracting. The lungs, passive structures that depend entirely on that muscular movement to inflate, stop inflating. There is no pain. That is one of the most profoundly disturbing details of this entire process. There is no burning in the chest, no sharp agony to match the scale of what is happening. There is only the sensation of not breathing, of needing air with a desperation that floods every remaining functional part of your brain, and the absolute mechanical inability to do anything about it. The body's response to suffocation is panic, a deep, primal biological panic that overrides everything else. And you experience every second of it in full cognitive clarity, in a body that cannot respond, cannot gasp, cannot do anything at all. This is where the Death Adder's patience pays off. This is what the ambush was always for. Here is where the story can still end differently. The Death Adder's venom, for all its precision and horror, has one exploitable quality. The blockade it creates at the neuromuscular junction is reversible. The toxin occupies the receptor sites but does not destroy them. The antivenom, when administered, can displace it. Ventilation buys time. Intubation keeps the diaphragm's job covered mechanically while the body clears the toxin. People have survived complete respiratory paralysis from Death Adder envenomation. Not easily, not without intervention, but the machinery, if supported, can be reclaimed. The survival window is brutally narrow and geography-dependent. In a hospital with rapid access to Death Adder antivenom and respiratory support, the prognosis is surprisingly reasonable. In the Australian outback, 2 hours from a road, the calculus looks considerably darker. Time, distance, and recognition of the bite are the three variables that decide whether this story ends. Most victims do not know they were bitten until the ptosis starts. By then, they are already deep in the timeline. The Death Adder does not need speed. It does not need aggression. It does not need to announce itself. It simply needs you to keep walking after that tiny, inconsequential prick on your ankle, convinced that everything is fine while the clock runs quietly in one direction. It has been doing this for 20 million years. It is very good at it. Stay on the path. Watch where you step. And if something in the dirt catches your eye and you cannot quite tell what it is, do yourself a favor. Don't get closer. If you made it this far, you already know you are not the average viewer. You came here for the real thing. No filler, no padding. Just the unfiltered mechanics of what the natural world can do to a human body when it decides you are in the wrong place. There is more where this came from. Hit subscribe, because the next one does not get any more comfortable. Drop a comment below telling me which creature you want to walk through next. And if you watched this entire video without looking away, share it with someone who thinks Australia is just a place with funny accents and nice beaches. They need the education. I will see you in the next one. Try not to step on anything.